Meeting to order. If everyone can please rise for a moment of reflection and the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franson? Here. Mrs. Hoover?
Here.
Ms. Royce? I'm here. Mrs. Bowling? Here. Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Gerton?
Here.
Mr. Braden?
We do have 6 members present this evening. Moving on to amendment of agenda. We have a handful of items. We are adding a DEI committee report from April 2nd. We are adding a letter from the law department regarding executive session. We are adding the 4 ordinances that had second readings at the last meeting for third readings, and I will read those titles off here. Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a community reinvestment area agreement with Factory 52 LLC regarding 14,700 square feet of ground floor commercial space at 4850 Bicycle Boulevard and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a community reinvestment area agreement with Factory 52 LLC regarding construction of a 100 to 125 room hotel at 4580 Bicycle Boulevard and declaring an emergency. An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a tax increment financing agreement with Factory 52 LLC, authorizing all other documents and instruments necessary to implement the terms of such agreement, and authorizing and approving related matters. And the 4th is an ordinance establishing priority of property tax exemptions granted for parcels of real property tax exemptions located within the city of Norwood, Ohio. So those were the 4 items from the last meeting. We had second readings, and they were missing from the agenda to have third readings at this meeting. And the other item is to appoint a clerk of council, and we will place that on the agenda following the amendment of the agenda. Mrs. Hoover,
I move we amend the agenda as stated.
would you like to repeat it? I'm just kidding. Mrs. Bowling,
I second.
seconded by Mrs. Bowling. Any discussion? Mr. Moore.
Thank you. While I think the law director's report, the DEI report, and the appointment of the clerk are wonderful things to amend and include. To me, I think the purpose of the published agenda is to give notice to the public if there's something that people want to come talk about or speak about. And I feel like to amend the agenda to include 4 things that I have personally heard a lot about, to amend it to include them at the last minute feels wrong to me. And so I'm not interested in including those 4 items in the amended agenda.
All right. Mr. Garden?
I think that's a fair point, especially with all that I've heard about these 4 items. I think that I concur with Mr. Moore.
All right. With that stated, Mrs. Hoover and Mrs. Bowling, would you like to amend your motion, amend your motion to amend, it's a lot of us, to amend the agenda to exclude those 4 items? Or if you would like to amend it as stated. Mrs. Bowling?
Can I ask a point of clarification?
Yes, you can.
Could we have 2 separate motions, one to include the law director's report, D&I committee, and appointing clerk of council, and then a separate motion?
We can do that.
I'm happy to amend to the first few.
Or if you want to agree to withdraw that motion the original motion. Mrs. Hoover?
My request at this point, and I appreciate your sentiment, I would like to have them in there even if we don't vote on them, because I would like to be able to discuss it. So that's information.
Mrs. Franzen?
I feel similar to Mr. Moore and Mr. Girton, and I kind of went back and forth on what I would want to do when I was looking at stuff this afternoon. Ultimately, it would be good to talk about them, but I do agree that not having them on the agenda earlier it's a problem for me too. Ultimately, it'd be good to be able to talk about them, even if we choose not to go forward with them. We could also choose to table them to a time determined, potentially, but I appreciate you guys, everyone's perspective on it.
Any further discussion? The motion as it stands is including those 4 ordinances. If there is no intention to amend or withdraw. All right. Mrs. Bowling?
I would like to amend, if only to ensure that regardless of how we all decide on third reading, that the D&I report, law director's report, and appointment of clerk of council does get amended. So I would like to amend to 2 separate motions, if you are amenable, Mrs. Hoover, to ensure that the appointment of clerk, D&I director, or D&I minutes, and
Sure.
Mrs. Hoover?
So I'm willing to amend the
Amend your motion to remove those 4 items.
Correct.
Those 4 ordinances. All right. So the current motion on the floor, the amended motion on the floor, is to add the letter regarding executive session, to appoint the clerk of council following the amendment of the agenda, and to add the DEI committee report from April 2nd.
Correct.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen? Yes. Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Royce, I'll vote yes. Mrs. Bowling?
yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Girton?
Yes.
Mr. Braden? Oh, yeah, I guess I don't need to call Mr. Braden.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. On to the second. If there was a additional motion based on discussion to add the other four items. If there is no motion there, we will move on. All right. Then moving on to the next item on the agenda, that is the appointment of the clerk of council. Mrs. Hoover.
I make a motion that we appoint Jason Probbins to the position of clerk of courts.
Clerk of council.
Council.
Motion by Mrs. Hoover to appoint Jason Probbins as clerk of council. Mrs. Franzen.
I second.
Seconded by Mrs. Franzen. Any discussion? Mrs. Bowling.
I have spoken with Mr. Probbins about this just briefly, and I am very interested and very excited to see what he brings to the role, and he has shown lots of commitment to the city, and I am thrilled for Mrs. Royce that she should not have to serve in 2 roles every evening.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes, I was glad we had the chance to talk about this at Committee of the Whole last week, and I'm very excited to have Jason be clerk of council.
Thank you. Mrs. Hoover.
Just to further butter him up, I don't think we've had anyone in my 3 years, 4 years, however long I've been doing this, feels like forever, who has put the amount of research into this position and really, really wants to make it amazing. And I'm excited for that. I think he's going to bring a new level of professionalism and service, and I'm all for it. So I'm really excited that he is taking the position.
All right. Thank you. Any further discussion? Motion on the floor is to appoint Jason Provins as clerk of council. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Royce? I'll vote yes. Mrs. Bowling?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Gert?
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Mr. Provins, if you want to come up here and relieve Ms. Royce so that she can Hoover, Franson.
Trying not to leave a mess already.
We missed that window.
All right. Moving on down the agenda, we have requests to address council. There was one that was submitted online, and that was from Dustin Rui. All right. If you can state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes to address council.
Good evening, council. My name's Dustin Rui. I'm here on behalf of Welsh Excavating, and my address is 1 Levy Way, Suite 3109, Newport, Kentucky. So I'm here today to talk in particular about the ordinance that's coming up later to ratify and authorize the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract for the replacement of the water main on Montgomery Road from Norwood Avenue to Fenwick. In particular, my client, Welsh Excavating, is the low bidder on that project. We have been concerned about a lack of clarity regarding the award of that bid and that the process with that. I know the bid is not awarded yet to any particular subcontractor, but generally in the process of these things, construction clients figure out pretty early on that whether they're going to be awarded the bid, and we're operating under the assumption, since Welsh has not been informed as such, that they will not be awarded the bid. In fact, it looks like the most likely option is going to be Ford Development will probably be awarded that bid. Their bid came in $32,000 above Welsh Excavating. So our concern with it is we've been asked to jump through a lot of hoops. Welsh Excavating was asked to obviously compete in the bidding process, which it did, and then was asked to provide post-bid qualifications to assure the city of Norwood that it was capable of completing this job, which it did. And then it was they were also asked to get a letter of recommendation from a bonding company stating that they were able to get a public bond to secure payment for this job, which they did, and the letter of recommendation was glowing, stating that they would be able to get up the bond for this particular project. Again, this is a pretty big job. The bid is over close to 1.3 million. There's legal obligations that come with the lowest and best bid standard that this job is bid on. It is our opinion that that Welsh has met all of those standards. They were the lowest bid, and they have done everything that they can do to show the city of Norwood that they are completely qualified and completely assured of being able to complete this job. Their list of qualifications includes many jobs similar to this job, exact same type of work as this job, and including jobs of similar size. We did have a couple questions I wanted to direct to council, just concerns, because we've been in contact with Clint Zimmerman. He's the superintendent of public works with the city of Norwood. We've been trying to figure out, like I said, through this process, whether Welsh would be in fact awarded this bid. Our main question, one, is will we be awarded the bid? Two, he's been alluding to procedural issues with getting this bid approved, and the fact that, it's uncommon to me that the public safety director would approve a bid of this size, but So I guess my general question is, what are these procedural issues that he's running into, and if we can get any clarity?
I don't know that council would be able to answer that. I would probably defer that to the city administration.
Okay.
And I know that the request to address council that you submitted online was forwarded over. So they are aware of all of the information that you provided in the written request to address council. And I'm assuming they will also be made aware of the information that you have presented here at the meeting this evening.
And obviously, the reason I'm here is Welsh is prepared to defend their legal rights as the lowest and the best bidder throughout this process. I just wanted to make sure council was aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next request to address council is Charlene Myers.
Thanks. I'm Charlene Myers, and I run Focus. I'm the director of Focus Cincinnati, and as you know, we do a meal here in Norwood. We now do it twice a month. We are doing a meal on Sundays, the fourth Sunday of the month, and we're doing the second Thursday. It happens to be the second Thursday, this Thursday, which is 2 days from now, that we'll have a meal. We're very excited that we have a consistent, steady stream of guests that come to our meals, and that's really kind of great that we are doing this service in Norwood. What I've learned is we're one of, I think, 2 or 3 other churches that are doing meals in Norwood. The other thing we're doing is we're working with Norwood View School. I know some of you participated in the Giving Tree at Christmas time, and we're going to do that again. We're doing Slide Into Summer Reading. We're providing some information to parents about healthy eating. And I think we're doing snacks or something. That's always popular with the kids. So that's the second thing. That's the other thing we're doing, or that's our side project to work with Norwood View School. We're also in talks with Pastor Mingo about how we can do a cooling center this summer. So not there yet, but working on that to get that to happen. So I just thought I'd give you an update of what's happening with Focus Cincinnati. And I'm always under my time. And I have to run a Panera to get my donations. So thank you. I'm not leaving because I hate you all, I promise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She says that.
The next request to address council is Catherine Torrin-Jones.
Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing me time to address you. My name is Catherine Torrin-Jones. I'm the branch manager of the public library right up the street on Montgomery Road. We're part of a large library system, Cincinnati and Hamilton County public libraries. And I'm usually here to talk about really fun things and happy times. But today I'm a little bit more nervous because we're fighting for some challenges to our funding, and I just wanted to be here so I could clarify anything that you may have seen, read, or heard about by sticking to just some basic bullet points that hopefully will clarify anything. If you have seen, heard, or read about it, you probably have because it's kind of plastered all over the place right now. The state of Ohio does their budget biannually, so this is a 2-year budget. It happens every 2 years. We kind of come up against it every time, but historically, for decades, we've had what we call the Public Library Fund, and that is how all public libraries in the state of Ohio are funded. This year, the House legislation has put forward their new budget just last week, so I'm kind of catching up on all of the details too. But it calls for the elimination of the Public Library Fund altogether and putting any support for the library in a line item. So anyone who's really worked in government or done any kind of budget probably would realize quickly that line items are much more vulnerable and can easily be eliminated and changed without much to do. So we're very concerned about the Public Library Fund being eliminated. That was also a way for us to have a stable and pretty predictable amount to rely on. about 50% of our public library in Hamilton County and Cincinnati comes from the public library fund. The other half is from local levies that you all have voted on, and thank you so much for your support. Our libraries in Ohio are truly the envy of every other state. You can Google it. I'm telling you, we have the best libraries in the country. If we move to this new budget, if it is adopted, I believe they're going to be voting on it tomorrow in the House, and it'll move to the Senate. We will lose about $14.5 million in 2026. So their budget is it's not on the calendar year. It'll start July 1st. The new budget will. All of the libraries in Ohio, the total amount of loss over the next 2 years will be about $100 million. And that money is going to come from somewhere. But ours is the largest. We have a somewhat unique system because we have our city and our county all in one huge library system. So we have a lot to lose. Yeah, so that is the basics of it. We have been asking our customers and our neighbors and our community members to call or email your representative if you're concerned about this or you would like to get more information or major. We've been asking people to share personal stories about how the library has benefited you. I know we've talked to many of you personally, and it's just a great return on investment for the taxpayers. It's something that everyone can use and everyone gets a lot of benefit from. So that's the basics. Moving from a public library fund to a line item, reducing it by about $100 million over the next 2 years. Governor DeWine's budget was not, it included the public library fund. So I'm not sure how this is gonna land, but at this point, it looks like this is what we're gonna be working with and trying to let our representatives know what we would like to see happen, so. Does anybody have any questions? I'll try. I have some numbers if you're number people, but just very over.
I know that I've shared, my son was a library volunteer at the Norwood Library when he was a little one. Huge library fan. I can list some of the things that the Norwood branch in particular, which is my own special place, besides getting free copies, free tax forms, it's a community hub. You provide children's programming. You provide help with taxes, I believe. I know you do the meal programs in the summer for kids. You have free tutoring.
Yeah.
This is off the top of my head. What are some of the other things that happen you guys are giving away trees?
We're giving away trees.
You're giving away trees.
Yeah, really quickly, I mean, at our particular branch, every Monday we have tech help. We have people come in every Monday. They bring their phones, they bring their tablets, they bring their computers. They're asking for help, and we have somebody there who very patiently sits down and teaches people how to set up their phones or, sign up for an email account. We have outreach for seniors. We have our book clubs. I go to the senior center every month. Personally, we have story times. We have a partnership with Play and Learn, which is one of Baby Bear and Norwood Ready Kids. That's kind of under that umbrella. We try to partner with anyone in the community that wants our support. And everything you mentioned, we have even just DIY, learning about, in August, I have a program about, is it a scam or is it real? I mean, just trying to look out for people and then also have fun, like you said, giving away trees and having craft clubs and things like that. So we try to have something for everybody. I appreciate your support. I think that Ohioans are very aware of the value of the library, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next request to address council is Bishop Sonny James.
Good evening, fellow peers. I want to start off by saying February 23rd, we had a phenomenal meeting. Folks from state, local leaders came, and I was able to make some challenges. And I asked all of them to say, I'm all in. and many of them did. And then I asked them to repeat after me, if it's going to be, it's up to me. Many of them did. And I want to report to all of you, since that meeting, February 23rd, phenomenal things have been happening throughout the city and even on the state level. Law matters, policing matters. It has just blown me away, to be honest. And then the Bible says that I'm to give honor and credit to whom honor is due. And I wanted to just commend one of the challenges that I've made over and over again is just saying hello to people. Human decency. Because for so long we overlook individuals. And many of you know that just burns my gizzards. But I want to just publicly commend our mayor, who I remember on last council went out of his way to at least acknowledge me. Guys, I can't tell you just how good that felt. And then tonight, Mrs. Franzen was standing feet away from where I'm standing now, and she went out of her way to just say hi. Human decency. And that's what I'm asking, and to some degree demanding. DEI is very dear to me because I live it. But we've got to make sure that we're including everyone at the table. I'm excited to hear that the council has voted to bring in a new clerk of council, and I welcome you. One of the things that I've got to make sure that we understand, though, if you look at the demographics of the layout of our members, we really need to make sure that when we have openings and positions and jobs, if you don't know of any people of color, why don't you call me? You don't have my number, 513-487-8843. Listen, I'm not saying they're going to get the jobs, but it's nice to be at the table. And it's nice to hear folks come in and talk about bids and contracts. Can we not find any other minority-owned developers and business-minded folk? Again, if you don't know any, just give me a call. I'm sure I can help you out. At least bringing them to the table. Again, not talking down about anyone who's been appointed. We welcome you and trust you're going to do a phenomenal job and have my full support in that. But it's time now that we start doing things a little bit different. I recently went to the Madisonville Community Resident Council and met some developers, and I was very shocked. One of the first people I saw was one of our own businesses that didn't feel welcome in this community, and now has had to move on to go to another community. Well, that burns my gizzards when we lose anything in Norwood. I want us to continue to pray for our police, because even recently they had another crazy chase situation. We thank God that they're all safe. But one of the things that we want to make sure that you are aware of, there is a group of us that are now unapologetically going to be looking into all matters. I did announce that we're not bringing any lawsuit against the police department for other actions, and we support them. But we certainly need to be able to look into practices. We are now going to be releasing a major lawsuit, and there are two that are coming. And we just want people to do what's right. And I was in a store, and even the manager, Dave, said, "Bishop, what's going on? It's Friday. Man, our numbers are down." And like Target, a lot of organizations and a lot of companies are realizing that we are standing up now. And as these lawsuits come forward, I just want your support, understanding. I'm not against Norwood, but I've got to support the people. And please be with us. And on May 18th, as I walk away, is our Youth Safety Summit. Come on out. We'd love to have you all. We'll talk more in the weeks to come.
Thank you. Our last request to address council is Amanda Kothe.
Quite a splash. This is my first council meeting, and I'm definitely not a public speaker. But I just wanted to say my name is Amanda Kothe. I live in the 4th Ward, and I attended I think it was maybe the committee in whole that was discussing the PLK development that will be going to where the previous Quality Inn was located. And I think it's wonderful that we're developing that area. But I was very concerned with PLK's vision for the area because I think it's really shorting Norwood on what we could do in that area. I'm aware that it's a brownfield, and so, we cannot have mixed commercial and residential use. I get that. But I don't see, and I don't think Nick Kleinfelter gave a good reason why it couldn't be a mixed rate development. We absolutely need affordable housing in this area. That's an obvious problem. We definitely need housing for seniors. It's a huge growing sector of the population. But I think we're really shorting ourselves by saying we can only do below market rate in that area because that's all that Norwood deserves. I think we deserve a lot more. And I think we can reach out to a lot broader section of the seniors in this area. I think you, Mr. Moore, brought up some good ideas at that meeting. We just really need to be thoughtful with this development so that we're making sure we get the most amount of tax income from the area. And I think, as we're developing this stretch of Montgomery, I think we really need to look at what is the best fit. That's all. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, moving on to reports of standing committees of council. The first is Committee of the Whole. Report dated April 1st, 2025. To the Honorable Council of the City of Norwood, Ohio. We, your Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred Master Plan for the City, New Council Orientation, Community Survey Distribution, Community Survey Early Results and Follow-Up, Committee Assignments, and ad hoc meetings with Norwood City Schools, beg leave to submit the following report. With regard to the Community Survey Early Results and Follow-Up, there are still just over 600 surveys that have been submitted. Not all were completed. Upon the creation of a spreadsheet to track those who request follow-up, members of council will reach out to those who have requested hearing from an elected official. With regard to the community survey distribution, discussion took place about the additional letters and QR codes that will be sent to area businesses, Norwood City Schools, placement in Norwood Parks, and placement in general gathering/community areas. New council orientation, there were no additional updates on this matter. With regard to the master plan for the city, council discussed looking at developing a 10-year plan. Council committee assignments were discussed, and a new document outlining committee assignments will be put forth for approval at the next council meeting. Future ad hoc meetings with Norwood City Schools. Due to the potential for pending litigation, this matter was not discussed in detail. Matters pertaining to the community survey, new council orientation, master plan for the city, and future ad hoc meetings with Norwood City Schools will remain in committee for further discussion and development. Minutes are attached. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Gears, chairperson, Ms. Royce, Mrs. Hoover, Mr. Moore, Mrs. Franzen, Mrs. Bowling, and Mr. Girton. Mrs. Franzen.
I move that we accept the committee report and approve the committee assignments,
And as well as the minutes.
as well as the minutes. Yes, thank you.
Is there a second? Mrs. Bowling.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Bowling. Any discussion? Mrs. Franzen.
Just so people know, the only thing that's changed is that Mr. Girton is now finance chair as opposed to me. Since Candace stepped down, I stepped up as pro tem. I just felt like I then had two committee chairs and Mr. Girton had none, so I thought that would be a better way to parcel out the responsibility. I do enjoy being on finance committee in general, though. It's not a slight against Mr. Miracle or anyone.
And I'll also note that the other change is that Mr. Moore replaced Mrs. Winterbauer on all of the committee assignments. Any further discussion? Motion on the floor by Mrs. Franzen, seconded by Mrs. Bowling, is to accept the committee report, the minutes, and the committee assignment. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Miss Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gurdon.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Moving on to the next item, that is the DEI Committee Report from April 2nd.
To the Honorable Council of the City of Norwood, Ohio, we are Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Board meeting, to whom was referred Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity in our community, beg leave to submit the following report. Shireen Elsesser stepped down from her position. We discussed recruitment plan, Pride events tentatively scheduled for June the 1st. Historical marker for Marsh Park should be completed in 6 to 8 months, and celebration planning, that will include music and speeches, will begin. Respectfully submitted, Susan Hoover, Alexis Royce, and Miss Ashton Tucker.
Ms. Royce.
I move we accept the committee report.
Motion by Ms. Royce to accept the committee report. Mr. Garten.
A second?
Seconded by Mr. Garten. Any discussion? Mrs. Hoover.
I would just like to share that there are always open invitation to not only attend the DEI Advisory Board, but we also have an ongoing opening for letters of interest. So I'm sorry that folks left before they got that information, but that is something that has been shared numerous times about this particular
And
committee.
that can be sent to,
The secretary, the council secretary at council@norwoodohio.org.
got it. All right.
Gov,
Gov.
sorry, gov.
Thank you. Any further, Ms. Royce?
Sorry, can I add, it's only once a month. So it's not like council where you could have 1, 2 to 8 meetings a month. So you'd only need to come the first Wednesday of the month. And I think we're a good time. So please submit a letter of interest.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Motion on the floor by Ms. Royce, seconded by Mr. Garten, is to accept the committee report. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Gurdon.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Moving on to introductory readings of ordinances and resolutions. Mrs. Hoover.
I was wanting to make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending lawsuit.
All right, motion by Mrs. Hoover to enter into executive session for the reason of discussing a pending lawsuit. Mrs. Franzen.
I second.
Seconded by Mrs. Franzen. Mrs. Bowling.
Do we have to clarify at this point who we would like to remain? Should we like to invite someone to remain for executive session?
As far as members of administration or,
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Does that need to be in the motion?
we can discuss that now we can include that in the motion.
Mr. Powers and Mr. Woodside, I would believe, should be present.
All right, so motion on the floor is to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation with Mr. Powers and Mr. Woodside remaining in council chambers for this discussion. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Gurdon.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. At this time, council will enter executive session with the exception of elected officials, Mr. Powers and Mr. Woodside. We do ask that everyone else exits council chambers, and we will let you know once executive session has ended. Contract to provide pedestrian safety improvements along Montgomery Road and declaring an emergency. Mrs. Franzen.
I move that we suspend the rules and have all 3 readings on this one.
Motion by Mrs. Franzen to suspend the rules and have all 3 readings of the ordinance. Mr. Garten. Seconded by Mr. Garten. Any discussion? Mrs. Franzen.
Yes, I had talked to Mr. Powers prior to this, and this ordinance and the other ones that deal with Montgomery Road, they're ones that kind of need to move along so that contractors can be chosen and things can get in place before ODOT comes and paves Montgomery Road. So I just want to make sure that we are doing this because we need to, not because we want to rush through it. It just kind of needs to happen as quickly as we can have it.
Mrs. Hoover? Mr. Powers?
Yes, thank you. One thing I just wanted to point out on this is you'll see that it is authorizing $2.3 million of city funding, which is coupled with $2.3 million from a Metro MTIF grant that the city received. When we initially applied for this grant, that was at a time where there was a lot of variable pricing going on. We are expecting this to come in a little bit lower now, which is why you will see that in the FRP at that $2 million figure. But it's put in here because we don't have a perfect idea of where this is going to come in. The estimates have kind of varied a little bit as we've gone through the process, and it is a very big project. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Motion on the floor by Mrs. Franzen, seconded by Mr. Gerton, is to suspend the rules and have all three readings of the ordinance. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gerton.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Please have all three readings of the ordinance.
Ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract to provide pedestrian safety improvements along Montgomery Road and declaring it an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract to provide pedestrian safety improvements along Montgomery Road and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract to provide pedestrian safety improvements along Montgomery Road and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Is there a motion to pass? Mrs. Hoover?
I make a motion, we pass the ordinance.
Motion by Mrs. Hoover to pass the ordinance. Mr. Gerton?
Second?
Seconded by Mr. Gerton. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gerton.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Moving on to the next item. This is an ordinance amending the Norwood Public Records Policy adopted by Ordinance 6-2008 and declaring an emergency. Ms. Royce.
I would move we have the first reading.
Motion by Ms. Royce to have the first reading of the ordinance. Mr. Gerton.
Second?
Seconded by Mr. Gerton. Any discussion? Ms. Royce.
I had some questions. So this relates to body cam footage, which I know the state said we can now charge to recover. My concern is, obviously, we trust you as the Safety Service Director to do a case-by-case basis. My concern in the future would be someone who may be less amenable to people who have less income. So I know, for example, the court, we have you can do an indigency affidavit and we'll waive your fees. I would like to amend this at some point, obviously not tonight, but to include something across the board specifically for, I would say, criminal defendants who are indigent. I just know that our public defenders are stretched, and that's also our tax dollars. So it would be, and I appreciate it's not the full $70. I appreciate it's the $50, and of course, I understand a lot of records requests are duplicative and sometimes not necessarily worth the tax dollars to do them. But I would, in my opinion, I'm fine with having the first reading tonight, obviously, but I don't know, maybe could we move this to a committee after this? Or maybe law and ordinance, maybe, to discuss possible amendments? Would that be procedurally proper?
Some more?
Council could pass this, and then later under new business, you can put the issue in committee. But a question for Mr. Powers. If we're giving a defendant discovery, you're not intending to charge the $50 an hour, is that correct?
Okay. If somebody is doing this through the discovery process, I would view that as outside the public records process. The public records process is just, hey, I want that record so that I can have it.
Could we make that clear maybe in the policy? Or make it clearer?
Yeah, I think that
Again, not worried about this administration at all.
Sure,
But
Yeah, I think that's something that we could clarify.
okay.
Mrs.
That was my
Boland?
question.
Yeah, I'm in support of that. I would like to see a little more clarity written into this so that future administrations are not able to leave it up to interpretation. If I'm thinking about this similarly to how I think about a public records request, I think that it should be available publicly. I think that it's important to have that piece of accountability there. And I think putting a financial barrier on that is, I would love to see more clear restrictions as to when that can be put into play and when not. I'm in support of sending it to committee before it is passed.
All right. Any further discussion? Motion on the floor by Ms. Royce, seconded by Mr. Garten, is to have the first reading of the ordinance. Mr. Moore?
I'm sorry, just as a clarifying question. So if we, and I think we ran in this with the FRP, so if we don't amend it now, and if we have the first reading and then we amend it later, like that, am I accurate? Is
That
it
will
correct?
refresh. If, and Mr. Moore, you can correct me here. If there is content or context changes within the ordinance upon being amended, that would then become a new item. So we would have to have all of the readings over again.
So I guess my question is, does it make sense to have the first reading if there are imminent changes to the document?
Sorry.
Ms. Royce?
I'm okay having the reading and then we can just move it. I'm fine with moving it to committee and new business if that's okay. I just did this for discussion, obviously. Discussion purposes.
Mrs. Bowling?
I'm of the thought that I will likely vote against a first reading because I would like to see it amended before, and I don't see much point in having a first reading, then sending to committee, amending, and having to have an additional first reading. So just though in the time it took for me to explain that, we could have just had the first reading. It seems more efficient procedurally, whatever.
Mr. Powers?
If I may clarify one other thing, I do note on the agenda, it says this is an emergency, but we did not request an emergency with this item. So it is not something that we're considering to be time sensitive. So I don't see any issues with putting that in and having further discussion on that.
Thank you. All right. Any? Yes, Mr. Bonzo?
Yeah, just to add, so in your rules of council, motion 12, it says to refer a motion to a committee. It says the council may vote to refer a substantive motion, basically this, to a committee for its study and recommendations. 60 days or more after a substantive motion has been referred to a committee, a majority of council may compel consideration of the measure by the entire council, whether or not the committee has reported the matter to council. So basically, like, a motion to refer this to committee is in order, even though you currently have your reading motion. Somebody can make a motion to refer it to committee. Now, that way you don't have to actually vote on it. You'll vote on the motion to refer it to committee, but you don't have to vote on the reading. Or
Whatever. I will amend.
Ms. Royce?
I'll amend the motion to put this into the Law and Ordinance Committee.
Mr. Garten, would you?
I agree.
you don't have to amend the motion, you just have to make a new motion to refer,
Make a new motion.
to refer this matter to.
I'll withdraw my previous motion. And if we're in motion to put it into committee.
All right. So, new motion by Ms. Royce is to place this matter into the Law and Ordinance Committee. Is there a second to that? Mrs. Bowling?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Bowling. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gurdon.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Next item is an ordinance ratifying the bids received and authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract for the replacement of the water main on Montgomery Road from Norwood Avenue to Fenwick Avenue and declaring an emergency. Mrs. Franzen.
I move we suspend the rules and have all three readings.
Motion by Mrs. Franzen to suspend the rules and have all three readings of the ordinance. Mr. Gurdon.
The second the motion?
Seconded by Mr. Gurdon. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gert.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Please have all three readings of the ordinance.
Ordinance ratifying the bids received and authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract for the replacement of the water main on Montgomery Road from Norwood Avenue to Fenwick Avenue and declaring an emergency. Ordinance ratifying the bids received and authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract for the replacement of the water main on Montgomery Road from Norwood Avenue to Fenwick Avenue and declaring an emergency. Ordinance ratifying the bids received and authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract for the replacement of the water main on Montgomery Road from Norwood Avenue to Fenwick Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Mr. Gurton.
Make a motion to pass the ordinance.
Motion by Mr. Gurton to pass the ordinance. Is there a second? Mrs. Franzen.
I second.
Seconded by Mrs. Franzen. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Gurton.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Moving on to the next item, an ordinance approving the 10th Amendment to the detailed financial plan for the city of Norwood and declaring an emergency. Mr. Gurton.
I make a motion that we have all three, suspend the rules and have all three readings.
Motion by Mr. Gurton to suspend the rules and have all three readings of the ordinance. Mrs. Hoover.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Hoover. Any discussion? Mr. Gurton.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to highlight any changes that were made?
Yeah, the two funds that were missing on the original one, if you followed the Financial Planning and Supervision Committee meeting, were included in this one. There was also a change made to the amount of the insurance, the health insurance premium to our assumptions, which is 6%. Now, today, we received a message from the financial supervisor, Anna Mary, saying she has not been able to totally review all of the changes that have been in there. So recognize that the last time we passed this, we had the three readings and we passed it, but then it went to the Financial Recovery Commission, and due to the lack of those two funds being in there, plus there were some other things that she felt uncomfortable with that needed to be corrected. So those things were changed in here. I would recommend really only doing one reading on this. The most important part for me is to get this in front of you guys so that you can look at it, you have it, you can study it for another week. What I anticipate is that she will come back and say, hey, I found this and these things that need to be corrected, and I will have to revise this, so then we'll have to reset. The goal is to have this approved at the next meeting, totally approved, because the Financial Commission, the Financial Supervision Commission meets a couple days after that. So we would have a new one coming out to you with everything that maybe she brings to the table, which I hope is not much, because we've been working on this for so long. But I'd really just ask for you to do one reading of it tonight. You have it. You can continue to look at it. Mr. Burton, you found a mistake in one of the original ones. I know that Mr. Moore pointed out a mistake that had some changes. So, I'd like to get one reading. I don't think I'd ask for this to be an emergency either. But if we did one reading, I would be fine with that, because I think I will be coming back to you in 2 weeks with a version that potentially has a couple more changes. I'd hopefully not, but potentially the other one will have a couple more changes. And at that point, you guys have had it for a long time, and that would be the final product, and we could do 3 readings in one meeting if that's possible.
Mr. Moore.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, again, just want to say thank you for all the hard work and everyone else who played a role in putting this document together. I know there's a lot of different versions on this one. And so with regard to there was an amendment we had made at the beginning before the first reading last time, that it seems like that amendment with respect to police crime control capital projects just needs re-leveled. So on the 5-year forecast, it's page 10, and on the capital expenditures, it's page 1. And the only reason that I caught that is because I was looking back at kind of the specific things that we had discussed.
Is that the 258?
Yeah, it's the 258 number and the 163.
That was not corrected on that?
There's still the discrepancy. It's 168 on page 10, and then it's the 258 on page 1 of capital. So,
Well, good point. Good cat.
I'm really not trying to be any kind of way. I was skimming through kind of the numbers that I knew we had discussed, and so however those need to be reconciled, I would just say, can we make that amendment and then motion to have the first reading as amended?
Mr. Garten.
I'm amenable to changing my motion.
To amend your motion to the first reading?
Yes, but I'll allow discussion before I do that.
Any further discussion? So Mr. Garten has amended his motion to now have the first reading of the ordinance. Mrs. Hoover, you will amend your second. Thank you. So the amended motion on the floor is to have the first reading of the ordinance. Any further discussion? Mr. Garten.
With the amended correction.
And
It's going to be corrected anyway. It doesn't matter at this point.
any further discussion? Call the roll, please. Yes, Mr. Garten was the first and Mrs. Hoover second.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Garten.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Please have the first reading of the ordinance.
Ordinance approving the 10th Amendment to the detailed financial plan for the city of Norwood and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety Service to enter into a contract with Duke Energy for upgraded street lighting on Montgomery Road in the area of the Montgomery Road Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project and declaring an emergency. Mr. Garten.
Make a motion that we suspend the rules and have all three readings?
Motion by Mr. Garten to suspend the rules and have all three readings of the ordinance. Mrs. Franzen.
I second.
Seconded by Mrs. Franzen. Any discussion? Mrs. Bowling.
I know that we've had some concerns from residents regarding the actual light fixtures. So I spoke with Mr. Powers about this. Mr. Powers, would you clarify for us what agreements we have or what our thought process is behind said light fixtures?
Yeah, so one of the goals of this is to reduce the number of light fixtures that we have, to basically have fewer lights illuminating a larger area. That will reduce the overall number of lights, so it reduces costs for the city, reduces light pollution in the overall area. Should improve the product that's out there. Instead of having pole after pole after pole after pole, this will kind of space those out a little bit further. Be a more modern design, new poles all the way down. And so they will be spaced better, allow for more things like street trees instead of fewer things like poles.
Mr. Moore.
Yes, Mr. Powers, just with regard to this being street lights sort of paid for out of the street fund versus like being paid, the fund being used to like pave the actual streets, could you just comment briefly on sort of all the things that are like okay to pay for out of the street fund?
So this could be paid for out of like the general fund street section. It may be able to be paid for out of the O2 Streets Fund, which is dedicated solely to the streets. I would have to double check on that, but I know that that can't be paid out of the general fund. And we do have a separate fund that pays for street lighting for the whole city.
Got it.
And that's basically just paying the Duke Energy bills associated with that.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yeah. Is it really only 115,000? Says not to exceed 115,000 for upgrading street lighting on Montgomery Road.
I don't think that's correct, actually.
So in section 3, it says in the amount not to exceed 115,000 for the upgraded street lighting. And that seemed very low to me. That seemed like 2 poles.
Yes, that is correct. That is not the number that should be there. I believe that is supposed to be about $200,000. It is not as much as you would think that it is because a lot of the electricity is already out there. But it should be more than 115,000. The 115,000 number was to reconnect buildings after we do the movement from the wires above ground to underground. So I'm not sure where that number came from.
Yeah. Would it be that potentially that's our 50% of the cost and the full cost would be $200 some dollars, like double that? Since SORTA is reimbursing 50% of the costs associated with the lighting? I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out maybe where the number may have come from.
Sorry, I'm just pulling up my memorandum here. Yes, that's correct. So this is $230,000, $115,000 of city funding.
Okay.
Mrs. Francis?
So it is the correct number for our part.
It is the correct number for our part.
Awesome. That's great. I love that. It just seemed like a little lower than I expected. So
Yes.
I wanted to make sure.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Hoover?
I just want to clarify, we're still going with the 30-foot poles, correct?
That's correct.
And if there is an issue with the illumination exceeding, are there things exceeding the space that we would like to be illuminated? What are the ways that we can mediate that after the light poles are already in?
So this is something that we've talked extensively about with our traffic engineering firm, TEC. So they do illumination studies on this. You can bring that light fixture down, but when you bring that light fixture down, you increase the number of poles. So if we do that, we are going to increase our long-term costs. We're going to increase the number of poles we have to maintain. We're going to reduce the number of street trees, and it would not provide as high a quality of an aesthetic.
Mrs. Hoover?
Is there a possibility for screening if there is an issue?
You can put guards up to make sure that light doesn't deflect in certain directions. For a street like Montgomery Road, though, these are pretty typical.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Bowling?
And do I understand correctly that the height and the frequency of the fixtures are sort of locked in with this ordinance, but the actual specific fixture itself, there is wiggle room for determining?
Yeah, I mean, that can be looked at basically until installation. Although changing those fixtures and changing those poles would increase the cost, so we would probably need to come back for additional legislation.
Mrs. Hoover?
I believe there's only one variety of the 30-foot pole that's metal, the other is wood. So I think there's not an option for variety. I've just had several conversations with Mr. Williams with TEC about illumination for kids.
Any further discussion? All right, motion on the floor by Mr. Gerton, seconded by Mrs. Franzen, is to suspend the rules and have all 3 readings of the ordinance. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gerton.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Please have all 3 readings of the ordinance.
Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety Service to enter into a contract with Duke Energy for upgraded street lighting on Montgomery Road in the area of the Montgomery Road Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety Service to enter into a contract with Duke Energy for upgraded street lighting on Montgomery Road in the area of the Montgomery Road Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Safety Service to enter into a contract with Duke Energy for upgraded street lighting on Montgomery Road in the area of Montgomery Road pedestrian safety improvement project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Is there a motion to pass the ordinance? Mrs. Hoover.
I make a motion, we pass the ordinance.
Motion by Mrs. Hoover to pass the ordinance. Is there a second? Ms. Royce.
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Royce. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gerton.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Moving on to the next item. This is a resolution adopting the City of Norwood Treasurer's amended statement of investment policy. Mrs. Franzen.
I move we have the first reading.
Motion by Mrs. Franzen to have the first reading of the resolution. Mr. Moore.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Moore. Any discussion? Mrs. Hoover.
Wondering if the treasurer would like to give an overview of this?
Sure, yeah.
Mr. Bonzal.
Yeah, thank you so much. So this is basically just cleaning up the investment policy. I originally wrote it before we had hired a investment firm that does nothing but work with municipalities and other other types of governments when it comes to managing their investments. So they've do this all the time. They've made some different recommendations for us to look at. Specifically, instead of naming all of the specific authorized investments, we're just referencing now the Ohio Revised Code, where the Ohio Revised Code tells basically us what we're allowed to invest in. And the benefit of that is that if the Ohio Revised Code changes, then the investment policy just basically changes with it. So, and their Red Tree is intimately familiar with, they track all of that very closely. So it would just be kind of an improvement there. The other changes are all just, a lot of them are just more procedural, just ensuring that instead of making a bunch of specific requirements about the percentage of investment that can be in any one thing, it's more just generally we're matching there's just some statements in here that match the investments with the city's goals. So basically just provides flexibility for the city. I mean, we're nowhere near any of what we had previously in there, but just provides flexibility for the city so that if we're can basically follow best practices that other communities are doing. So so this is, if there's any questions, I can answer those specifically.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Motion on the floor by Mrs. Franzen, seconded by Mr. Moore, is to have the first reading of the resolution. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gerton.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Please have the first reading of the resolution.
Resolution adopting the City of Norwood Treasurer's amended statement of investment policy.
Thank you. Next item is a resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve a then and now certificate from the Auditor's Office Contractual State Examiner Fee Fund 1001-0500-57291 to cover the cost of an invoice for Ohio Auditor of State for $5,125 and declaring an emergency. Mrs. Franzen.
I move we suspend the rules and have all three readings.
Motion by Mrs. Franzen to suspend the rules and have all three readings of the resolution. Mrs. Bowling.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Bowling. Any discussion? Ms. Royce.
I would like to invite the auditor to discuss if he wants to.
Mr.
Explain
Miracle.
what he said.
Thank you, Mr. President, and yes, I want to. We have two invoices this evening from the state auditor's office, and quite frankly, there were POs were not generated at the beginning of the year, and Mrs. Yeager caught that, and so that's why they're here tonight. They're over $3,000, so we have to have approval by council.
Thank you. Mrs. Bowling.
I just wanted to clarify that the reason for suspending the rules is that the payment due date for this one is the 30th of this month. And so in order to be paid in a timely manner.
Any further discussion? All right. Motion on the floor by Mrs. Franzen, seconded by Mrs. Bowling, is to suspend the rules and have all three readings of the resolution. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Girton.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Please have all three readings of the resolution.
Resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve a then and now certificate from the auditor's office contractual statement examiner fee fund 1001-0500-57291 to cover the cost of an invoice for Ohio Auditor of State for $5,125 and declaring an emergency. Resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve a then and now certificate from the auditor's office contractual state examiner fee fund 1001-0500-57291 to cover the cost of an invoice for Ohio Auditor of State for $5,125 and declaring an emergency. Resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve a then and now certificate from the auditor's office contractual state examiner fee fund 1001-0500-57291 to cover the cost of an invoice for Ohio Auditor of State for $5,125 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Ms. Royce,
I move we pass the ordinance, resolution?
resolution. Motion by Ms. Royce to pass the resolution. Mrs. Bowling,
I'll second.
seconded by Mrs. Bowling. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Girton.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Moving on to our last item. That is a resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve a then and now certificate from Auditor's Office Contractual State Examiner Fee Fund 1001-0500-57291 to cover the cost of an invoice for J.L. Urig and Associates Incorporated for $6,670 and declaring an emergency. Ms. Royce.
Move we suspend the rules and have all three readings?
Motion by Ms. Royce to suspend the rules and have all three readings of the resolution. Is there a second? Mrs. Hoover.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Hoover. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Girton.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Please have all three readings of the resolution.
Resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve a then and now certificate from the Auditor's Office Contractual State Examiner Fee Fund 100-0500-57291 to cover the cost of an invoice for J.L. Urig and Associates, Inc. for $6,670 and declaring an emergency. Resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve a then and now certificate from the Auditor's Office Contractual State Examiner Fee Fund 100-0500-57291 to cover the cost of an invoice for J.L. Urig and Associates, Inc. for $6,670 and declaring an emergency. Resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve a then and now certificate from the Auditor's Office Contractual State Examiner Fee Fund 100-0500-57291 to cover the cost of an invoice for J.L. Urig and Associates, Inc. for $6,670 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Mrs. Bowling.
I move that we pass the
Resolution.
Thank you.
Motion by Mrs. Bowling to pass the resolution. Mrs. Hoover.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Hoover. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Ms. Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Girton.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Moving on to administration reports. Mayor Schneider.
Thank you. I'll just take a brief amount of time, but I have some written information here that I'd like to just share and read it to you. As mayor, I want to address the proposed housing development that has been the subject of discussion lately. Even have a community member in the audience here. A project aimed at providing quality, affordable housing for our residents aged 55 and older, specifically those earning up to 70% of our area's median income. So I want to be clear, this is not a deeply subsidized housing development. This is about offering dignified living options for those who have contributed so much to our community. Retired teachers, nurses, veterans, factory workers, and lifelong residents who now find themselves on fixed incomes, which we all will. These residents wish to remain close to their families. They want healthcare providers are in this area and the community they know and love. They want to stay here. We're talking about somebody like my mother, who's 88 years old, who lives in a huge home here in Norwood. She's been able to downsize, but she's still living alone. She's still, it's a different story. We have another person that had a huge home on Floral, and she was able to sell it to her child, but she wants to stay in Norwood, so she moves into Factory 52, and she's paying Factory 52 rents to be there close to her home in Norwood where she wants to stay. Does she go to the swim pool? I highly doubt it. Is she going out to the bars and pubs? I highly doubt it. She should be in a different place, and we need to have that option for her also. So consider this. Should someone be forced to take out a reverse mortgage just to stay in the neighborhood, which I have a friend that did that, and it lasted for a few years, and then guess what? She ended up moving in with family because the reverse mortgage thing didn't work out exactly the way they wanted it, and the family that wasn't able to. It was not a great situation, but that's the options that are there right now. I believe, and I sincerely believe, the city of Norwood can offer better options, and I think this housing development is part of that. Some may argue that the land could be better utilized for an office building. Let's create jobs. We're not going to get manufacturing. Well, maybe we'll get manufacturing in there. And if somebody says we're going to $500 million, well, we're not going to get it manufacturing. It's not going to do better as an office building. Job creation is undoubtedly important, and we'd love to have more jobs in the city of Norwood, but look at the numbers. Housing development would accommodate about 225 residents, 225, at an average income of, say, $55,000, which is average. These people have worked their whole life to get where they are. It's not like everybody who moves in there, oh, I don't have any money, I'm homeless. That's not how it works. My mother has good income coming in, but this would be a place in which so if you say $55,000, that's about $12.4 million in money that they will be spending in our community. So we're talking about, to achieve the same level of economic input into an office building, we would need it to attract a tenant bringing in 165 full-time employees. 165 full-time employees. And they need to earn about $75,000 to get comparable, right? So money-wise, it actually works for the community. The 225 residents will spend their money locally. They'll be going to Quatman Cafe. They'll be going down here to Gordo's. They'll be stopping in our Kroger and keeping it looking good. So they will be doing all those things. Unlike commuters, right, who come in here and they work for a short period of time and then they head back out. They're not spending much money here. Development is more than just constructing buildings. It's about people. It's about preserving the fabric of Norwood, ensuring that those who have been part of the community for decades can continue to call it home. And so I urge you to look beyond the affordable housing label. And that's really what you wonder about. Consider the economic advantages and social cohesion it'll foster. This is about introducing something new to Norwood, but sustaining and enriching what we have. So in this situation, Mr. Hoover, you always talk about thinking with your heart, thinking with your head, thinking with your heart. You got to do a little bit of both. And to be the community that we want to be, we've got to do both. We've got to really have the feeling for it and say, this is what's necessary in our community. My mom can live in this. Other people, that it's important. And yes, it is a decision by your head, but this is a good place for it. If we for some reason think we are going to get Norwood's Pike back to what it was, with just building after building after building after shop and all these, and remember, all under all those shops or over all those shops that were up and down Montgomery Road were apartments, were people living in there. We're never going to get back to that. We couldn't rebuild that. Well, there's no way to rebuild that in this day and age. This is a good development. And really, we should be looking at it in a more positive light at what it brings to our community. And it'll be a place, quite frankly, I don't think I'm that old, but I'm going to be close to getting, being able to go into that. Well, why wouldn't I do that in the city of Norwood, where I grew up, where I want to live? So that's it for my administrative report, if you have any questions.
Ms. Royce?
I appreciate that because I agree. I think we need to think with our hearts and our minds on this. And some of the things that were said at the meeting, I know I didn't appreciate, and I'm not 55 and over, which is fine. People are allowed to express their opinions, but people are more than their income tax. And frankly, this housing, while it is labeled affordable, the more I've thought about it, this is middle class housing. My market rent, which is the magic word everyone loves, is within this range. And I make a lot more than what this media, not a lot, but what the income should be for this. So I just want to thank the mayor for stating frankly what I think this development can bring to the community.
Any further questions for Mayor Snyder? All right, Mr. Bonzo.
Thank you, Mr. President. So municipal tax day is coming up. April 18th is our city deadline. Your federal deadline is still April 15th. But we've sent reminders out to the community, so a lot of you all probably have received our community, our responsibility postcard. We try to make it a little bit more clear this year that we are not changing your federal deadline. We are only changing your city deadline. So, because we got plenty of calls about that last year, but we're already seeing responses from that. One thing just to note, so we are still 2 employees down from where we were last year, just due to employee transitions, not due to any budgetary issues. So there's only 3 of them in the office right now. I have to make sure I count. Only 3 of them in the office right now instead of the 5 that were there last year. So I would just say, please have some patience this year with them. It might take just a little bit longer. The good thing is reinforcements are on the way. So the week after tax week, we'll have 2 new people starting, very highly qualified people. I can't wait to even introduce them to you all and let you all know more about them once they start, because the level of the work that Lori has done and the level of quality that the applicants that we had this time around compared to the last time is just amazing. We were at one point where we had to use a temp agency just to get to try to find and we actually found a couple of good people from that, but we had to use a temp agency to help find people, and now just through our HR department, we don't have to do that at all. We've got really highly qualified people, so very much appreciate that, and employee referrals that have come through. So, but that, again, that starts the week after. We will keep you all updated. I think have the most confidence that they're going to get through it. They're going to do a great job, but just want you all to know that. The other thing that is a very surprising in a positive way that we've seen so far this year is that our earnings tax receipts for Q1 are up 19% over where they were last year, which is quite shocking to us. January was up 1%, February was 43%, and March was 27%. There are probably some one-time things in there that are kind of causing that. It's not like we've had a bunch of new office buildings all of a sudden open up, but it is in a positive direction and kind of reaffirming to the Financial Recovery Commission, hopefully when they start asking questions, that we're still moving in a positive direction, even over plan, what's in the plan here. So we'll probably have more to talk about that at the Finance Committee meeting. Yes, in April. The other item, the investment policy, highly appreciate the reading on that. And I'll just say that if anything that we can do, any needs that you all have for us, definitely just let us know. So, thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Bonzo? All right, Mr. Miracle.
Thank you, Mr. President.
This one? Is this the file?
Yep, that's it. Thank you very much. I just wanted to have that up there. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
So that folks at home could read that. and then I had a copy and I passed it along to all council members. So just an update from the auditor's office. Deputy Auditor Mary Yeager has completed a draft of the retention schedule for the auditor's office. And on April the 14th, the Records Retention Commission will have a meeting. Our retention schedule will need approval by the Norwood Records Retention Commission, the Auditor of State, and the Ohio Historical Review. This could take probably 2 to 4 months for approval. And just so everyone knows at home, the Records Retention Commission is made up of Mary Yeager, Noah Powers, Tim Gary, and Andy Conlon. Also, the report on accounting methods, there is a comment regarding the Auditor of State findings for recovery database, which is covered under the Ohio Revised Code 9.24. I gave a copy prior to the meeting to Mr. Girton. And this is where you go online and you review a business, contractor, and essentially you just print it off so you have proof that you are using the database. And then when the Auditor of State comes back for the audit, they want to see that we have followed through on this. So you'll see those moving forward. Also, tax budget. We'll talk about that now. It's due July 15th. That'll be here before we know it. We will need to have 3 readings prior to that. The last meeting prior to the 15th is July the 8th. So we will begin working with the Finance Committee on April 22nd at our next regularly scheduled Finance Committee meeting. So we'll get started on that. And I will forward the last tax budget to the Finance Committee prior to that, and then we will begin processing that. Also, just for transparency's sake, we've had 2 meetings with Paylocity. Mr. Wagers from the Treasurer Office, the HR department's been involved, of course, our department, the Auditor's Office. And today we did receive a quote this afternoon, so we haven't had time to review that. But just to let you know, we are vetting them and report back on that. Also, Mary is working on completing our purchasing procedures. She's done that, and then now she's in the process of auditing that. Also, we've updated the requisition form, which I'll show to the Finance Committee at our meeting. We have included a box now for the findings for recovery to make sure that that has been done. And also, we'd like to have the fund name. And if it's a grant expense, we want the sponsor-approved budget on there as well. We've also put 2 new, if it's a new vendor or if we have changes to the current vendor. So we'll be rolling that out. And just as an FYI, Mary was at the Local Government Officials Conference in Columbus on March 27th and March 28th. So thank you for attending, Mary. And that's my report for tonight.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Miracle? All right. Thank you. Mr. Moore.
Yeah, it's kind of hot.
All right. Moving on to unfinished business. There are some things. Ms. Suber.
I'll be so fast. I appreciate 10 p.m. The first thing is just, yet again, I like to have the survey information up for folks at home. We're still getting some, every so often we'll get a thing, but I'm excited to get the next sort of suite of folks coming out, or surveys coming out. The next thing, I know that the Girl Scouts were here the other day, and I wanted to share, we did an ivy abatement, and these girls are just the best. At the end, they were running through the woods, screaming, "Free the trees," and working together. And at the end, we got together, and I said, "What did you guys learn today?" And you could not have, written this dialogue. One of the girls shared, I learned about winter creeper and English ivy, and one girl learned, I learned that I like working with others, and I learned I can make a difference. It was just so pure and wonderful. We worked for quite a while in Lindner Park and created some core memories, and just want to say thank you to Norwood Troop 4556. Lovely young ladies.
Before we move on to the next item, can you move your microphone closer, please?
I'm sorry.
I'm getting a text that you're not being heard.
Okay, the Girl Scouts are awesome. I wanted to share this again. It came up last time. I know Mr. Girton went, I was going to let you give another shout out for this. You went to the father-daughter dance, and upcoming is the mom prom.
Mr. Girton?
Highly recommend, if that's your thing, to take your child to the mom prom. It was a really fun event to just be out in the community and see neighbors and see our kids run around. Thank you.
Additionally, on this page is information about rentals for city parks, picnic areas, the pool. I've been seeing some folks posting on social media about that. That is all handled through the rec. I can agree that our website interface is not awesome, so I encourage you to call Natalie over at the rec. She's lovely. And then next page, sir. This is a great way to get more information from the city. This is a thing that I created probably about a year ago, but if you use that QR code, it gives you all the information to sign up for the newsletters, for See, Click, Fix, for Norwood Television, public meetings. It seems like every so often we just need to remind folks that there are places where you can get a lot of information about what's going on in the city, including what's happening at the rec. Lots of great things. I got Tai Chi going on now, new swim classes. I got a bunch of emails, so sign up to get the emails. The next one.
The DEI board we're going to continue our donation bins for Lydia's house for another week, just because we got a late start, which it seems like we often do. But the donation list is on there. They take diapers, cleaning products, just general household items. And they're a great organization. They give these to the residents to use. They give them when they move out. And if you don't know, Lydia's house is transitional housing for women and children, and the work they do is incredible. So I really love that every year we just get to interact with them and help them out in some way. So get your donations in this week. The bins are at the rec, right? And they're in City Hall. And did we put them somewhere else? The Board of Health. Board of Health, excuse me. Yeah. Mrs. Hoover helped me and put the bins out since I was out of town at the beginning of the month. So that's why she knows locations. But get those in.
Thank you.
Next. She was in Italy, by the way. It's super rude.
We don't need to talk.
I mentioned this last time. I did find this online. This is a bunch of resources for our Xavier student neighbors. It has information on getting involved, some of the same information that is on the two previous slides. Also about recycling, which I'm going to bring up. But we can get free recycling bins if you are a Norwood resident. If you are a student in housing, your landlord can get it. So please do that. That's it.
Any other unfinished business? Any new business? Mrs. Hoover.
Couple back to recycling. We're going to be having our Freon tire removal event April 26 and 27. This is something that Clint Zimmerman, Superintendent of Public Works, does every year. This is a phenomenal resource where you can drop your stuff off. Not only is it great for just getting it out of your life, but we can count that waste towards our residential recycling initiative, that's the graph next to that. And you can see in 2024, our recycling was at 11.91%. Since I've been working on recycling, we've increased it it was 10.05. So I'm just blowing it out of the water. I'm just amazed by how much we're increasing recycling. So seriously, folks, recycle. you can see the city is getting $11,000 from our diversion from landfills. It's a win-win-win. Please do it. I'm also super excited. I'm meeting with Hamilton Resource. I think it's next week with Carolyn from the Board of Health to talk with them about becoming a target city, a target community rather, and really try to drill in on increasing recycling, in particular in some of our businesses for things like clean cardboard. Recycling loves that. It's easy breezy. They want to do it. It's one of the easiest things to recycle. They get a lot of money for it. So going for low hanging fruit. So that will be coming up in future conversations. The next one is the Montgomery Road cleanup. This happens every year. Norwood Together puts it on. You can either participate up and down Montgomery Road. We meet at Victory Park at 8:30 for coffee and donuts. Lots of us are usually there. The mayor is usually there. If you would like to be at the school, I know Mr. Girton was at the schools last year. Go to your kid's school or a kid's school from 10 to 11. They'll be having the cleanup there. It's a great time every year. So I encourage you to join us in that. And then my last item is the Norwood Tree Board plant swap. So I've been working with the Norwood Tree Board to become a Tree City USA. As I've said, that allows us to get access to more funding. And that's sort of like one of the first benchmarks. So in order to do that, we have to do things like have a tree or an Arbor Day ordinance, which we will be look forward to next council meeting. And the tree board needs to put on an Arbor Day event. So what they're going to be doing this year is an Arbor Day celebration and plant swap. They'll be doing that at the Norwood Cidery from 12 to 2. Please bring plants to swap, browse. There will be some of the tree board members there to talk about tree board and all the great things that they do. And that's this Saturday. Wow. So put that on your calendar. Clean up and then come and get a plant. That should be your weekend plan. And I believe that is everything I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business? Ms. Royce?
I would like to schedule a law and ordinance committee meeting. Is everyone available? I'm looking at I know 15th is tax day, so if that's a bad day, I understand, but 15th or 17th?
I can't do the 17th.
Okay.
You can't do the 17th.
I can't do the 17th? We have. Oh, okay. I can do the 15th. The 15th? Is that okay? Okay, so we can do the 15th, council chambers.
6?
Want to do 6? Does that work for everybody? Okay, at 6.
If you can shoot that information and the agenda items to
I will do that.
Angela. All right.
ASAP.
Any other new business? Mrs. Bowling?
I would love to schedule a small business meeting. How does the 22nd before council work?
Got finance.
Finance.
Why do I always forget that exists? I'm trying to avoid Mondays.
We can do before finance, potentially like 5:30 if that's not too early for people.
That works for me.
What time is finance?
6:30.
Typically, it's small business.
No. It's just us.
Same, I married Jeff Susan.
Just 5:30.
5:30 works? Great. 5:30 on the 22nd.
22nd.
Mr. Gears, I will copy you on that email.
All right. Any other new business? I will note that I know Mr. Moore mentioned, I believe it was at the committee of the whole meeting, the request to address council form does now ask for, or it provides the option for individuals to provide their contact information, so their phone number and email address. Was also revised to ask clarification when addressing council on an agenda item. Would they like to address council with all of the other requests to address council, or at the time that that item is up for consideration on the agenda? So I will no longer have to clarify that or make that announcement. Hopefully, people will see that on the form and check the box where applicable. Any other new business? All right, then moving on to communications. The first is a letter from Mayor Victor Schneider regarding mayor's court fines for the month of March.
Dear Mr. President and council members, enclosed, please find the report for Norwood Mayor's Court for the month of March 2025. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Victor Snyder, Mayor.
Is there a motion to receive and file? Mrs. Franzen,
I move we receive and file.
is there a second? Ms. Royce?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Miss Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gert.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Next is an item as a letter from the law department requesting executive session. Mrs. Franzen.
I move that we receive and file the letter as if read.
Motion by Mrs. Franzen to receive and file the letter as if read. Ms. Royce.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Royce. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Miss Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gert.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. We do have one absent member. I will note that Mr. Garten did send me a text confirming that he, not Mr. Garten, Mr. Brady. I know it was on the right. Mr. Braden did send me a text confirming that he would not be able to attend. Mrs. Franzen.
I move that we excuse our absent member.
Motion by Mrs. Franzen to excuse the absent member. Mr. Moore.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Moore. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yeah.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Miss Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gert.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Garten,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
is there a second? Mrs. Hoover,
I'll second.
seconded by Mrs. Hoover. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Franzen,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover,
Yes.
Miss Royce,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowling,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Gert.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. This meeting is hereby adjourned.